And we are live. Good morning, good afternoon, good day, and good evening. And I don't know what time of day it is for you, but for me, it's the good time of day. Uh-oh, something just happened here.
I can still see you.
Are you able to hear me fine, or is it?
I can see and hear you fine.
It looks like we have a delay on this, and I'm not sure exactly. Okay, so if you, I think I found where the delay is at, and we are good. All right, so we are here today. We have Mr. DeVon Carlo. I say here, Fortune Forever Studios, Fortune Forever University, Fortune Forever University Studios. I say
Yeah.
we are talking about Black excellence. We are talking about Black business. And we have a very powerful brother in here in the house with us today, Mr. DeVon Carlo. He's going to be helping to enlighten us on empowering us ourselves, empowering the community, empowering Black men. We're going to be talking music. We're going to be talking finance. We're going to be talking a whole host of things. And we're going to be blessed with the presence of Mr. Carlo. And while you're here, I'm gonna ask that if you enjoy what we're doing, that you give us a like, a comment, subscribe, share this, put this out there with us. And without any further ado, Mr. DeVon Carlo, how you feeling today?
Hey, I'm great, Savior Black. How you, man? I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing good. I am doing outstanding. I said, you know what? I don't like wasting time. I want to just jump straight into it. I said, I know we talked a lot about this in the back a little bit beforehand, but can you tell us a little bit about Fortune Forever University and about also about the financial aspects that you have? I know we talked about the website and everything that you have here. If you can just walk us through a little bit about what it is that you do, about what it is that you're about as a Black entrepreneur, and I'll ask some other questions as we're getting into it.
All right, cool. Well, man, I'm a simple man. I'm a father, brother, all of them roles. But I've been a single father for a while. I have raised my kids. I homeschool them or private school them with my own, with the university aspect as well. I'm a artist just since a child, whether it's drawing, music. As a musician by 7, by 12, I was professional in the industry. I ran a successful label internationally. We did a lot of recognition, but recently, the most recent, should I say, had a successful album in Japan. Charted at the top of at the top of the charts. We independent, no U.S. labels or anything like that involved. I pretty much have a long resume, but I'm a go-getter. Most important to me is freedom, managing my own time, and incompleteness. Everything is about my family first, and then it revolves around that. So, we do at the university here. We have interns that learn all aspects of audio production and engineering and lots of things involved in the music industry as well. As far as finance, I got some private sector things going on in finance I'm not really ready to talk about yet, but the general mindset that I have, I believe, is a wealthy mindset that generates, finance, in general, will generate that. Okay, I see.
Oh yeah, no, I'm putting your site up here so that everybody can see exactly what we're talking about. We are talking about the owner. We are talking about the entrepreneur himself in charge of this site here that you're looking at, Fortune Forever University Studios. Here's the homepage. It is fortuneforever.org. I say with Mr. DeVon Carlo, and I definitely want to make sure I put that up there. I don't want to sit there and just talk about it and not show it. I think we need to show the work also.
Here's the album I did in Japan. it's got all this Japanese writing on it everywhere, and it's got 16 pages of lyrics and content, half in English, half in Japanese. We a lot of attention to detail with this project, and we're really just kind of proud that we were able to really do that with the language and barrier and all of that stuff.
So you mentioned several things, and I want to touch on all of them because you mentioned being homeschooling your kids, which I think is important. And you also talked about we talked about it behind the scenes a little bit about some of the things that we're taught that are not accurate, being self-sufficient. And one of the things that we also talked about, as I want to get into right now, I don't want to segue into the other stuff just yet because I want to sit there and touch on something that was unique to me that I had never really thought about or heard about. You mentioned that your album is one of the highest priced albums over there as well. Can you talk a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, well, over there so far I haven't found one in the world. So even over here it's pretty tough. But as most recent as May 2021, it was $78 an album, and it was released in 2013. Started off at 15, $20, and right now it's back down around 35, $40. But hey, find it. Show me a $35, $40 album. Show it to me. A regular one, not a special edition, a regular just album,
I agree. That's when you said it, it blew my mind.
It's a lot of opportunity in the world. Everybody can eat. You don't have to know someone for someone to be truly living their dream or just free in their space. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and when you talked about the fact that that aspect of it, and I'm going to kind of move into what you talked about with homeschooling your kids, which is unique for most of us. What prompted you to want to homeschool your kids? What was it about getting them out of the educational system that we have and wanting to teach your kids yourself?
Wow, I had as a new parent, I had some experiences that even as a child, I didn't understand, the first day of school. I think mad at my mom for a couple of weeks when she dropped me off at preschool because she taught me not to talk to strangers. And so, with my first child, I would, had him in like preschool and maybe kindergarten, maybe. But it was things that I wasn't, school is very rigid. I had some things that happened to my other son in the medical field where he was injured, and it just the accumulation of my experiences of questioning things and being empowered to take action based on informed thought. That's what really prompted me, and we began that. And what made me have to even go even further into that is my ex-wife, she died man, I say a year after the album had dropped. And that's very unfortunate, very just world shaking. I thought she was gonna live forever, and it really caused me to just really reflect on my whole entire purpose and my duties as just as a man and a father and things at that time. And I ended up I was in the middle of a lot of things, and I ended up taking a hiatus. I'm not trying to go on tour, not trying to push, music and things like that. But privately, the work really never stopped. But her passing was another catalyst into me diving even further and more intense into the development of my children. And so and then because of my life, my mindset, putting family first, and making a life around that instead of everything being around the job, everything. It's the opposite. We have family business. We have family trust. We're not so Americanized in our and recent Americanized and our individuality to just outperform and be divided. We're really a tribe, and the productivity of learning and family business education, it all feeds itself, and it just becomes very productive.
Yeah, and that was one of the things. I noticed as you're talking about your family first approach. One of the things that you had on here was School of Artists and Culture. Can you talk a little bit more about the cultural aspect of it and your training? I know you have it with your kids, but also in your university. Can you talk a little bit more about that cultural aspect?
Well, I don't want to get too deep, but from the cultural, I'll simplify it by saying it's a more holistic approach between self-awareness, your intuition, and the way the world works. And in music is scientific. There's frequencies, there's decibels, in colors and editing and marketing. There's lots and lots of things that go into how we assimilate information on a psychological level, and a lot of things have been done on a damaging type of level, and there's better ways to do things, and we appeal to industry, so we can make Big Macs as a metaphor, and McRibs, and chalupas, but we also have filet mignon. We also have it's the being diverse, and even because we don't control the market. The thing about entertainment is it's a reflection of our society, and unfortunately it's a lot of things that you have to reach people where they are.
Yeah.
And everybody's not in the same place.
Well, you mentioned about it being a reflection of society, and and I guess being a little older, I remember when hip hop really was getting off the ground growing up, and I remember that they were all within the genre. You had your Public Enemies, your KRS-Ones, you had the gangster rap aspect of it, and there was all Slick Rick. You had all these different types of genres or different subgroups within it, and it was diverse. It was listening to what was going on within the community, and then it started to go from there to if you want to get monetized within the industry. That only thing that they were monetizing, and for a long time, what they've been monetizing has been specifically just degrading music about us within our community. That's the only vehicle, or only that subgenre has become the entire genre of music. And I don't. For me, you talked about decibels and music being scientific and holistic. I really believe that, because if you want to teach kids, like one of the easiest examples I can show, or I like to point to, is when we talk about the alphabet. Kids learn the alphabet, you hear that Twinkle Twinkle Little Star melody in your head. You do that, most kids, they can pick up if they're thinking about the alphabet, and it's like, well, I don't know, and then it's like elemental, and they're like, oh, then they can pick it up the rest of it because I got it with the music. Think about griots back in African culture. We think about a lot of people how they give you the Quran. They sing it. You hear it's very melodic within that genre. You think about even the natives that are here and how they talk about their history. They sing the history. So there's something to the musical aspect of it. And I guess the question I'm trying to get to is there a way? Because you said it's a reflection of society. Is it that it's a reflection of society, or is it that it's something that's being pushed to us by the advertisers, or how do we get away from the degrading aspects of it that just keeps on reinforcing that for us, as opposed to what we used to have when it first started off, where you had these a cacophony of voices talking about what hip hop was, where now everything is just women being hoes, drugs, and black men killing each other. Can you talk to that a little bit?
That's a great question. I believe that, society starts with people, and I believe society as a whole has allowed corporations to just exceed their power, and it's like because of this, we accept everything from corporations. And, they have so much momentum now, it's hard to stop it. You see what I'm saying? So what I feel, this is, being in America, or let's just say the United States, it's like we mentioned, it's a monopoly. And this goes, man, it's that dependency attitude and just acceptance of everything. They made Clinton and Biden made laws that, and it was many insiders and investors and things in the music industry that, that did things. And what's ironic, it's not about a person. I'm not trying to focus on a person, but the mindset. But I was alive when the drugs were going through the communities in Chicago, and they locked up all the drug dealers that they brought the drugs to, and they left the community to be raised by crackheads and the traumatized. And recently, the former president, released lots of people who were convicted of drug crimes that didn't have violence, and then reinstated their right to vote. And to me, put the same person in office with that vote who put us in a position in the first place. And it's that mindset of we just accept everything is why the music industry is so lopsided. And 80% of the industry is competition elimination, monopoly control. They form companies to sign artists to lock them up, in deals and things. And so they have a very highly profitable system going on that they want to keep in place. And the only solution I see, Sam Cooke, tried to do some things about it. And, I would call that, us getting a slice of the pie. And because the music industry is ran typically by a certain type of, certain demographic of people. And the other people who might look like us are like, employ them. You see what I'm saying? And, I'll share some for the first time ever in a public space like this. Me and my family member, we were the first so-called Black people to start a digital distribution company. And it was I'll just say that at the end of the day, after all the stuff we did, it was strategically, and a lot of resources were spent to take it down, to that situation. And I was younger in that situation and not as legally astute and everything like that. But we still gave them a run for their money. But it just really goes to show you, what we're kind of up against. But I don't know. I've gone, overseas to do what most of these signed artists can't do or
Yeah.
haven't, and we need some unity, but we need some business. We need we need something disruptive enough. I don't want to talk about bringing the industry down. That's not my goal. That's not,
Well, I want to have some reform. Not as a
but
because each industry that we're in,
some
yeah,
equity.
there's equity within the industry because I don't want to just be the new abuser on the block or the new oppressor. Let's see, we have Son of the Sun. He says, "What does Devin think about Kanye's move in the industry?" And I'll let everybody know that as a at around give us about 45 minutes into this. We're really just getting started on cooking. I'm gonna drop a link. You guys can come up and asking those questions yourselves. But he's asking, what do you think about Kanye's moves in the industry? What do you think about Kanye's move in the industry?
His moves in the industry. I think Kanye West is. I think he's a genius. Um, he's a man like anybody else, and I think I think he has qualities that the mainstream doesn't want other people to kind of have, even though they're good, so they point out his imperfections. But his moves in the industry, I purposely myself chose not to go the typical major route. I could have had signed a major deal when I was a teenager, definitely in my early 20s, from a production deal to an artist deal. But I don't like taking money from people, especially strangers. I believe Kanye knew that he was going to deal with some ugly things and have to go through it. But I think there was something strong in him that knew that he would make it out to the other side eventually. And a lot of people do not make it to the other side, and I think he just knew he was going to make it through that. Even if he was covered in mud or whatever, he was going to still make it through, So I respect any man's decision that he makes for his own life and really does it with conviction and does it like you have to have nothing but respect for any man's decisions and how he goes in and achieves it.
Yeah, I say so because I'm
Moses,
looking at
moral. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, no, I say because I say a lot of this does deal with one of the things that we talked about beforehand. What is kind of getting outside of the box that they put us in, and I feel that it's an intentional box that they put us in, right? So even with Kanye, like I said, he's an individual, he's a person, he's a human being, he has flaws, and we focus a lot on the flaws of people, and I think that that's not that you don't want to not sit there look at those flaws. That I'm not saying don't look at the flaws. What I am saying is that if you just focus on the flaws, you miss the other aspects of a person and what it is they're doing. And again, going back to like something that you're doing that I appreciate when you talk about homeschooling your kids, is something I really, 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 really wish I did with my children growing up, is homeschooling my kids. Because one of the things, once you get into what I call our indoctrination centers, they teach you to do something that you're going against the grain on, and you're taught to become a good cog in the wheel. We're going to teach you how to read, write, do the math, so that you can fit as a piece into this other industry, not just the industry, into a company. And we want you into this big business, or you want to get a good job. That's what you want to do once you get out of here. Nothing about being an entrepreneur, nothing about any of those type of things. And it's a tiered system, right? Mm-hmm. As an entrepreneur, if you have an LLC, an S corp, a C corp, whatever kind of company that you have a different set of tax rules for you than you do for somebody who is a W-2 wage employee, right? And there's a monetary system for you, and then there's the one for the employee. And when you go through school, they teach you want to get a good job. You want to get a job that pays you probably six figures. You want to, 40, 50, that's what you're shooting for. That's your goal. And hearing you say that you took your kids out of that institution and you put them into, or you're training them yourself, and you have an entrepreneurial mindset. And it's funny because within the community, at least I guess I'll get to my question in a second here. Let me finish this up. Mm-hmm. But in the community, we have a lot of men who have an entrepreneurial mindset where they see a problem, they recognize that there's not enough within their home, and they go out to try and solve the problem. The problem is that they don't have the the wherewithal, the knowledge, and the information necessary in order to do it, and they turn to drugs. Who, like you said, that's who they left in the community, right? They pulled all the men out, put them in jail, and then they left the crackheads and everybody else, and that's who the next generation got to learn from. On, yeah, this is a viable occupation when it really isn't. And I say, how would you go about, besides just taking your kids out to do homeschooling, which I think is an outstanding aspect of it? What are some of the other things that you would do in that regard in order to kind of help change that? It says, let me read this comment before I miss it. We all know that they don't want free thinkers. I would agree with that.
Right. So I have to say, taking responsibility for what you create, it seems like it's just a principal thing. And, you know, we taught to kind of dump certain responsibilities on people. Back in the day, if your father was a carpenter, most likely you were going to be a carpenter, you know, most likely. But even if you were certain, you're going to learn that trade, you're going to learn discipline, you're going to learn a lot of different things, right? So even if you don't, you know, you have to have value yourself, you know, so you have you know, I think life is a constant. I'm a student for life. I'm constantly perfecting. I don't even like saying that word. It's just you know, but I know myself, I know my strengths and I know my weaknesses. And I'm going to focus on my strengths, and I'll get help and assistance where I have weaknesses. So with my children, I'm going to teach them where I'm strong at, right? Where I'm not strong, their grandmother teaches art, sign language, different things. Uncle over here teaches video editing and things like that. So, I mean, we put together curriculum, but sometimes you don't have to. I say the key is not trying to match it to theirs. Sometimes you know, they call it PE, physical education, but you might have just had basketball training with your children. You know, they call it home ec and things like that, but you're teaching your children how to cook. They're cooking you incorporate everything, like I said, around the family. And you know, it's like you have to do something. I mean, having a skill in a trade or something, you know, something that you can be, when you do that, that's something in itself you can teach. You know, skills, I mean, trades and skills take math, science, and again, as you are creating situations where where it requires application of applying processes and things, you just start. It's not just like so cookie cutter. Right now, it's science. This chapter, this. Sometimes life is spontaneous. Look at fractals. They're not so organized. You know, you have to, you know, you have to do what's right for your family. When they go to school, you might have to teach them at night. You know what? There's no wrong way to teach your children. You're teaching them how to write, how to read. You're teaching them math. You're teaching them, you know, the things that you believe that they should know. And if you got specialized trades, you teach them that. If there's something you don't know, even for myself, it's just like calling a lawyer. You pay them for their time. You can go pay someone to teach your child something, or put them in an internship, or you make sure your kids get the training you want them to have, whether it's from you or from people you delegate to help that out. It takes a village, and you get the hang of it. You know, it's no wrong. You know, no, this is the right way. No, you gotta have this. You gotta have. My progeny runs circles around most of their peers in society. My son had a roast session at the high school. He only goes to high school because he plays basketball at the high school. He doesn't have to learn any of the curriculum, none of that. We have total privacy with that. But he gets up there and he just everybody's mouth drop. Not only is he articulate and sharp, intelligent, but he's funny and clever, and and it's just like, man, like everywhere I go there, man, people shake my hand with my children. Like, what are you doing with your children? Your children are outstanding, exceptional. They're humble. They're confident. Everybody say they won't have a lot of experience, in social life. My sons are probably some of the most popular boys in Champaign, Illinois, and and they don't go to public schools, and they play. They interact with people who are in Division I sports and things right now. And even, like you decide if you travel, you bring your kids with you, you teach them in so many ways, whatever you think is right. That's what taking power is, doing what you want to do with your free will, with your time. And, it takes, it's a transition to get into that if you're not already living that. But it is so rewarding, and you won't miss out on your children growing up, because I know that even in my busiest times that I can have them close by me. We're outfit. We have our own offices. We're comfortable. We got a house. We got, we can run life how we need to. I'm about to take a month off of work, literally, just because I can do that. And we're, about to go to the house in Vegas. It's you can, and we can learn and do whatever we want to do wherever we need to do it at. So it's really taking, really having the courage to execute what you want for your family, not these standards and those standards and these standards.
Well, let me read these two comments, and I'm gonna let Westradamus. He has some questions for you as well. Let me see. So we have, in today's society, no one sees the value in themselves, only a price. I would agree with that. That is a statement made there by DeHoney Taylor. And the destruction of the black family is number one in America's agenda. I say it is. I would definitely agree with that. It is number one. It is high up there on the agenda. And with that being said, I'm gonna let Westradamus. I guess you have some questions for us here, Westradamus.
I do.
Oh, go for it.
I do. All right.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, Mr. Carlo, how are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
Man, doing well, doing well. Hey, I did have a question for you. My question is, like, what do you think, in your opinion, what is wealth to you? And then after that, how do you build your wealth?
That's funny, because when you ask me how I was doing, I usually would say I'm wealthy.
I like that response.
You can tell by my organization, the name Fortune Forever. That's wealth. It's not, wealth is if you understand the monetary system, you really understand that the people are wealthy. So wealth is our will. Wealth is our value, our ability to create, to be good stewards. It's your own internal, because everything is a derivative of what I believe is your wealth that's been given, divinely. But the wealth you see fruit grow from the things you do, because you're wealthy in here first. Like, you see the Kanye West documentary, or a lot of other different stories. You have to be something today, and take an action today in order to get a certain result. So wealthy is not fearing. It's not fearing lack. Fearing lack is the opposite of wealth. And a lot of our people have a strong fear of lack, and that's the reason why, you know, they continue this perpetual patterns of what they're in. So wealthy is understanding that you have an unlimited supply. You know, I'm tapped into the divine, what I call it. I don't like to name names and things like that. Um, but
So how
for instance,
did
I was
how
gonna say
did
one. Go
oh
ahead.
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I'm a producer, right? I've never had writer's block in my life. I'm a songwriter, composer, and all that. I've never had writer's block in my life because I have a wealthy mindset. It's endless. I'm gonna always have, always, you know, execute my will and protect freedom at all costs. That's wealth. What were you about to say?
Um, my question was like, how did you build up this mindset? Like, how did it start? Like, what are pivotal moments? I know that you did mention that your ex-wife passed away. Sorry to hear about that. Like, what were the pivotal moments in your life with it were you forced to start, rebuilding yourself because of you see, you seem like you are an experienced, a very well seasoned person where, grow up in the '80s and '90s uh, where people of color weren't raised to have this kind of mindset. So, like, what moments happened? You know, what happened in your life where you can actually start building this mindset, and then for the listeners, like, just for you, just to homeschool your children, like that's man, that's everything to me. That, that,
Yeah,
that's- that, that shows you what type of man you are, So, what what happened? How'd you get
yeah,
here?
yeah. Side note, real quick, I mentioned something about helping with homeschool. I really didn't mean to leave this out, but Khan Academy online is very helpful at, you know, math concepts, some, you know, basic things. That stuff doesn't take you don't have to have your kid in school, you know, for 8 hours a day to learn those type of things. So just be, you know, wise in your, like I said, innovative in your approach to getting it done. Delegation. Now back to your question. That's a great question. Unfortunately, I might have been exposed to too much negativity growing up in Chicago, and um, like I said, during that time, during the '80s, and so certain things started, you know, was just weird to me. But by the time I was 15 years old, I knew that I was gonna live life my way. At 15 years old, I was in Mr. Pinkerton's class, freshman in high school, and we were learning about the Industrial Revolution. And you know, I already had knew that my people had migrated from Mississippi and came up to Chicago, part of that, that revolution. And so they're talking about the men, Rockefeller and all these people, and I just, you know, I add up pretty quickly, and I see that Rockefeller is very wealthy. He creates colleges. He creates the Board of Education, and he has all of these factories. I'm in line to work at one of these factories. Now, I've been an artist since I was a child. You know, I mean, I'm not just trying to live a brand or some, you know, thing like that. I truly play multiple instruments and, you know, things like that. So I really have passion. And that's another key to life. You know, you can't give up on your passion, your dream. You do that, you start getting old. I'm 40 years old. Most people don't tell me I look anything like it. I definitely don't. My energy is just out the roof. Um, but that was totally the opposite of what, you know, the child in me wants: freedom and fun and all these things they say you can't have. They told you not to daydream in school. It turns out when I'm daydreaming, I'm really having introspective ideas or creative ideas, and or I'm even challenging what you just fed me, but you're telling me not to think about, just take it in so you can regurgitate it later. And I raised my hand. I said, Mr. Pinkerton, I explained what I just broke down. And I said, now, why would I want to spend 12 years in school and more years in school so that I could work for that man making this little bit of money? And he didn't even go to college, but he's paying and controlling everything. Why would I want to? Why'd y'all even why y'all mention this dude? Y'all should have not even mentioned him. You should just said, this is what you do. Y'all glamorizing the man. I see the disparity. So I'm like, so at that point, by everything I had went through, unfortunately, I had a house key at 6, 7 years old. It's not necessarily cool. But by the time I was 15, I was so fed up. I started refusing to learn things in school. I didn't want to learn Greek mythology. I didn't want to learn. They were teaching us Black history in front of white students and all kinds of shit that I was not. I mean, I'm 15 years old. I'm a young man, but I really have my own. And I stood up for anybody. I didn't like. I hate to see people abuse authority. I always stood up for other people, but I even got my parents to the school, and I told them, and they made arrangements like, yo, he don't have to learn this. I ain't learning that. I ain't learning this. I'm not learning that. They end up putting me in a college prep school while I was 15, and they were trying to groom me to, certain things I'm not cool with. I'm a private, simple guy. I like to stay on the de jour side of things, just to be, plain. But I feel like we're granted life by something bigger than us, and it's that will was to benefit from this life. And I don't think there's anyone on this planet who's more important than me or more important than you. So there's just things that like it doesn't resonate. And so I knew that I was gonna do different, so I started working all kind of right out of high school. I mean, I was working all kinds of jobs, but I made sure all of my jobs were like third shift or were something where I could do my own business on. I was 18, 19 years old and had a weekly television show on Warner Brothers out here, and it had a completely computer animated intro. I was very hungry because I knew that I needed to I did some college and things, but I got some certifications, associate degree. It was just, I really wanted to be self-certified, because I feel like if I obtain success without your college, I'm still certified. So my thing was just doing and realizing, like, if you have a long-term goal, you don't compromise the short term because it's uncomfortable or because you gotta put in extra work and things like that. You really stick to that because you want to obtain the long term. So I've always had a long-term mind and an uncompromising spirit. And when I went through a divorce case, my parents are still married. I didn't know anything about divorce. I just, but when it happened to me, it was strange that these strange people were telling me how I was going to provide for my children and do this and all of that and everything. And I had watched 1,000 men just go and accept what was happening to them like nothing. Me, I am spirit. I am connected. You are a stranger to me, and I had I won't get too deep in it because man, there's laws that man, it made me so upset that me feeling like I don't have control over my life. And that's what I think is like part of being an empowered man it's our control over our matters. And what matters to me is family. And so when I felt that at stake by intruders, we had a real problem. We talking like a 4-year problem. And I came out on top. And I actually got an 8-year marriage annulled. And it was very complicated.
Wow.
But I proved there were things that happened that I needed. I was in the spotlight, right, on record when this stuff was going on. So, you know, I took actions to communicate with real like government officials and everything based on real like my principle as a man. And you can only determine that for yourself. And it wasn't easy, but at the end of the day, I was respected. And they kind of have to, you know, because I'm only gonna live free or die. Like that's like I value that sentiment. I'm not gonna live on my knees for anyone. And so, you know, I just have a desire to live, not just be alive. You know, like I wanna, you know what I'm saying? I want to see bright colors. I wanna really experience my children while they're growing. And I don't even have the mindset of you kick them out at 18. I'm going to be your father as long as I'm alive. I'm your best asset in life, you know? So it's, you know, we have to become self-governed, should I say, you know? Public law is for people who are kind of disabled. They can't handle their own affairs. When you really adopt a private mindset, it turns into a private lifestyle. And it takes responsibility, you know, but you know.
Can I ask you a question on that one? Because this is something I always struggle with, right? So you talk about the private mindset, the public profile, and my understanding, I shouldn't even say my understanding, my sentiment in regards to laws are because we're all on this earth together, right? And if it was just myself on my plot of land and whatever I did didn't impact anyone else, I would definitely say, why do we have laws or why do we have any kind of set of rules? But because even if I were on my own property and if, let's say, a river ran through it, so to speak, right? And if I sit up here and I do something with the water and you're downstream from me, it impacts you. And so you have riparian water rights and things like that for all kind of things. But at what point do laws become necessary or not necessary? Or why do you feel that they would not be necessary at all? And where would they possibly become necessary as far as rules to govern our interaction and how to best go about that?
Well, I mean, you know, our people's position in this society, economy, I think we could all agree is not a powerful one. I don't think it's stable. And just on a massive and, you know, in general. And how can I say this? Okay, so like I'll just say this: if you are not, man, okay, laws. I'm trying not to get too deep. You all right? So
I'm fine. You can get as deep as you want, because for me, I'll be honest with you, I even had a whole show at one point where I talked about the fact of facially neutral laws, racially neutral laws, and it's not always even necessarily the laws themselves, it's the execution. So like you talk about, our people are not stable. One of the things that happens is that they'll give you a set of laws, and as far as the issues for me with it is that we get a set of laws, and the way that they're enforced. You looked at the young boys over in New Jersey, where they got into a physical altercation, little boys doing what little boys do. The cops came in, they took the little black boy, they put him face down, put the cuffs on him, and the little white boy, they sat there, hold on for a second, whatever. And it's not that you shouldn't have some set of rules or governance in how we function with one another, but the execution of those laws, the interpretation of those laws become a problem for me. But and I also think that there's way more laws on the books, way more rules on the books than would need to be. And I say all that to come back to that question, because in my head there's reasoning for it, but then there's a reasoning against it. And I guess I'm looking for something that gets me out of my own little echo chamber in my head as to a different set of thoughts on rules and laws.
Okay, so you got de jure laws, de facto laws, right? Two different. One is based on people, customs, and you know what? Like we had ways with we had elders, we had different systems than like we have now today. Another different system of law is trust law. What this person's trust says doesn't mean that's what this person's trust says. We all have different fingerprints. How you execute your law, which is your will, that's you. As long as you're not harming anybody physically, there's no real criminal crime. There's no real crime.
I agree with that. I guess go ahead. Let me let you finish that out, because maybe you might be answering what I'm getting ready to ask. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I don't need to be babysat. I know how to conduct and govern myself. I'm not made. No man in flesh created me. No man in flesh is gonna govern me. Every man is only subject to. Every man chooses the law in which he's governed by. This is a universal principle. Every man chooses the laws in which he's governed by. If you govern by laws on high or a trust indenture, whatever, that's you. That's almost freedom of religion, right? But if you're incompetent and you say, yes, I'm this citizen, I'm this citizen, you're electing. And a lot of us elect through tacit agreement. All right, we participate because we don't know any better. So we're stuck in these contracts, and that's how we get into that stuff. But we have to really, they didn't teach us anything in school. They didn't teach us how to think and really how to, they taught us how to do.
They taught us how to be servants, right? How to continue doing the servitude stuff, how to continue being an employee. And I guess what I'm getting at, let me give you a statement of the absurd, right? I know that this is an absurd statement on what I'm trying to get at with this question as to where it is. So as a father, I have 4 kids. So I don't think that the government needs to be in my business as a father if I want to homeschool my kids, whatever. However, at the same time, I recognize, and this is a statement of the absurd, that is not my right to go molesting my kids. Does that make any sense? So there is a line, but where do we draw that line, and because now I'm and now I'm no longer benefiting, I'm being detrimental to the kids. Where do we draw that line, and how do we come to an agreement?
This is the thing, right? Just that, and when you harm someone, that's when the crime takes place.
Correct. It's no longer.
The government is not real. The McDonald's is not real. These are legal entities. There are men operating in offices on behalf of these things, right? Before a corporation has the right to do something, an actual man or woman has the power to do first. Power is delegated from people into corporations, right? So at the end of the day, when it comes to family business, good, bad, or ugly, I'm going to take care of my family business. It takes a community, whether that's a community of peace officers, a community of undercover officers, a community of angry fathers, a community of angry whatever, a community. Justice is just not rendered by there's private courts, there's private law happens every day, all day, in a million types of ways that have nothing to do with public courts or probates and anything like that. Law does not stem from corporations. So there's, I don't want to, I'm not pointing out, we know that when officers get killed, there is usually a one-sided type of situation. but there's been a recent situation in Indiana, and nothing happened to the guy. Is justified. You know, again, the people have the power. So if something's happened over here and someone says neutralize the situation, see, again, we're not being empowered men if we're not taking action in our own communities. Look, okay, instead of us being the enforcers, we're going to let some other people do it for us. They can do it, but we can't do it.
Right.
I don't subscribe to that, and that's fine. You can, whatever laws you want to govern yourself by. I'm in tune with reality. If I want something to get done, I don't call a corporation to get it done. I do it myself. A corporation doesn't wake me up for me to homeschool my kids. I do that myself. We have to take we have to take action and power because if whatever we don't allow, well, I mean, whatever if we allow stuff, we allow stuff. We set an example, and that's why we have so much corruption. We won't even protect our own children in our communities. How can we expect to do anything about corrupt people, politicians or businessmen or anything like that? It's like dependency mode. We're going to depend on somebody else to get our communities together. I look at the pattern. I don't think any legislation anytime soon is going to fix the problem.
I would agree with you that if I'm being honest about it, I don't know if because the laws and everything are normally structured in such a way as to put the onus on the citizens, and then we give the police or the people such as police, judges and whatnot, we take responsibility away from them after they've done heinous acts, and they've been given this authority, like you said, by tacit agreement, they've been given this authority over everybody. And we don't sit there, we don't address that issue. We address it with us as people, or I shouldn't say we don't. The laws, the government does not address it with the institutions. They address it with the people themselves. And I guess that's kind of where I keep on coming back to in my head with this, because I see that you got, again, I'm holding it up here. I want to make sure that people know that we have DeVon Carlo here from Fortune Forever at fortuneforever.org. Here's his site up here. Here's a little bit about him and his uber successful album that he has. It's available only in Japan. I can ask you, I guess, later on about when do you ever expect to get it over here? But that being said, going back into this with the educational aspect of it, at what point, when we're looking at these laws in regards to our community, in regards to how we're policed, in regards to at what point are they necessary or not necessary, and where do we draw that line, and how do we what are some of the solutions that we can institute in order to affect some kind of change from your viewpoint?
I can only throw out some theories. It's a lot of weeds in the flowers, and a lot of stuff is counterproductive. It's different mindsets, and it's people. Let me try to offer a solution. I say first, families. We really need to strengthen our families. We need more, more co-parent, two-parent households, and we need I really just believe if we start with the family, then we can move on to the next stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because there's this, really sick ideology of just our men and women blaming each other and just going in, completely continually to divide itself against itself. And it's to the point where men are coming off as homosexual to me. If you don't like women and girls, what do you like?
Facts.
It is, it's role reversal going on. And I believe, I had a newspaper with my great great grandfather in it, from like the 1924, and so he was in the paper because he had stabbed a white man, because he came on his porch and verbally assaulted like his wife, my great grandmother, and he wasn't playing that, and he was on his property too. And but anyway, he was on the front page. They mentioned his name. They didn't mention, obviously, so he was he was a free, whatever. But around all of this is talking about the New Deal, the New Deal and all these, the banking system that's been, in play from the Federal Reserve, that's getting ready to come to the 33 era and stuff. And our people didn't understand that. And I don't think we really caught on to that until at least 50 years later at the top level. A lot of people don't understand what the top level of money is. But I think it took us 50 years to get from 33, I think it went to the 80s where we got into that top level. So, it's not all about money. There's plenty of issues we have to face that are not about money. But I believe if we can just plug the hole and stop being in survival mode, that's the very first step at being able to make a rational choice. And there's new financial things happening right now. Not just me, but lots of people are benefiting and, really, getting in while this thing is early. Is it going to take us another 50 years to understand this thing we're getting in?
Are you talking about M0 money versus M1 and M2 money, or what are we talking about?
Well, right now, the cryptocurrency system, all the crypto stuff coming in, and like I said, if you're sophisticated enough, it's there's smarter money to get. They might call it white collar money, but I think that if we took the time to learn the money, that's our lack. That's what's causing us to be in survival mode. We drive cars, play games without reading the instructions and everything. Like, money has clear rules and instructions. There's a lot of them, but they're there. And I think if we, understood the way anything works, we work smarter, and, we're in capitalism. You're not going to get rid of this, but you could choose what part you're going to play in, or what level you're going to, it's a weird thing when, capitalism is bigger than America, but if we have people that can guide our people into, or, help people understand making their money work for them rather than working for money, I think a lot of men would be able to transition into not being in survival mode and ultimately being able to provide for their families. And I think that has to be the next goal. A lot of men, manipulating women to live and survive. Lots of arguing over, who does this, that, all kind of, I don't even want to get into all of the whys and all of the things. It's just that I feel like as men, we should take accountability to just say, hey, let's stop the bleeding. Like, let's be accountable. Like, let's take care of these bills. Let's not be in survival mode. Let's move to another step. I can be a better man, not everybody, but I'm just saying, it's just like survival mode, I think, is very detrimental to anyone.
Well, let me ask this question, because you've touched on several different things, and I was trying to figure out which one I want to get into. And I think no. I'm looking down here in the comments. I have, nice to see a show with intelligent black men, and the concept isn't victimhood, relationship, women bashing, and beefing and attacking other black men. Salute. So as I think I know direction which part I'm going to ask. It says despair and the savior mode. I taught, conditioned, and accepted. Sorry. Okay, so and all of the things that you're talking about, you're an entrepreneur. You're a single father. You have the family. Has and obviously, like I said, to be a father means that you're not looking at, like you said, that quasi homosexual aspect of it. But how do we? Has it? So we take responsibility of our families as far as the financial aspect was one of the things that you pointed to. How do we get our women to come along with us? As a specifically our black women to come along with us on this journey. I say we have you have a lot of gurus out there, and I agree with one of the things they talk about is that we have an image problem, and the image problem is something that's constantly projected about us, and it's not something that we always project, like we talked about earlier about music and the fact that there were many different genres, and now we've narrowed. It's been narrowed down for us because this is what the advertisers they'll allow us to talk about killing ourselves, about drugging ourselves, about being hoes and bitches and this, that, and the other. But they won't let us talk about a Fight the Power album or a KRS-One talking about enlightening or Yasin Bey, or now back then he was most deaf. He's now Yasin Bey on his Black on Both Sides album. We had all these different aspects from God to New World Water and it has all these different concepts. Now we're not allowed to get those concepts out. How do we fight that image issue besides what we're doing right now, where we're able to sit down and get together as black men to be able to talk about it? How do we fight that, and how do we bring our women along in order to make sure that we have those strong black families, in order to make sure that those are things that as you as an entrepreneur, how do we do that? What do you see as some of those levers that'll do it?
Two parts to that. I don't see a lot of masculinity even in the industry. We don't have any real estate. We don't have any power in there. All right. We don't have any power in that industry. So we need examples. See, the real children that's gonna the real people gonna make change is the children that's coming up, and hopefully those guys, the two-parent families. That's the next. But the people already here, man.
But it's a cycle that you kind of see, because you're talking about. I think you're going where I want you. Where I shouldn't say where I want you to go, but in my head, it's my echo chamber. They're attacking our young kids because they're getting to see this dysfunction within our families right now. Right? They're seeing men and women fight. I say black men and black women not getting along and fighting. They're seeing the image that's projected is that we as black men, we're not doing anything. And here you are as an entrepreneur, someone who has that high grossing album that you have over there overseas. I say you have Westradamus. He's another one who has taking care of his family. As a family man looking out for his kids. And you have a lot of black men that are doing these things. And yet and still the image of the black man is just the incarcerated one. And the black family, the image of the black family is one where you don't need a man. It's the same thing that Shahrazad Ali was talking about way back in the 90s. It's still happening today. How do we fix that image? How do we attack that? I guess that's what I keep getting.
Let's get it. Okay, so we have to build our own infrastructures. Wow. We have to build our own infrastructures, because in their infrastructures, they won't allow us to show certain examples. So if you are self-made and ain't nobody paid for you, you can do more of what you want. You see what I'm saying? And so because in the schools program us to follow.
Correct.
So they just need a better example. And not only that, I know a lot of women feel, certain women feel like, it's not about the blame game. But at the end of the day, if the men are the protectors, shouldn't we accept accountability for what happens? Shouldn't we want to provide? A lot of our men don't date our women, and the women are massacred publicly for even thinking about dating outside, of us. And I feel like they feel, it's just betrayal on so many levels. And not that we caused everything, but we played in what we play in, from beauty standards to, trust has been broken between our men and women. And that trust needs to be restored. Like I said, we need to see more examples of it. And men need to accept accountability to stop the bleeding. Like, we're the tough ones. We the ones are supposed to man up. It's not a derogatory. We're the protectors. We see to it that our lineage keeps going. And it's like we haven't been arguing on this phone call. It's been completely building and complementary. It's just let's come together to do what's right. But as long as we got all this poison and stuff, you got a big and so I don't want to. I'm working on some things that I don't want to say, but I believe the key to this is, they don't have any competition. And once they start having competition, whenever that starts really happening, then I believe we'll directly start seeing the effects of the other side and what that brings to the table. And,
I'm gonna plug again. I apologize for interrupting every once in a while, but yeah, as we're here talking with DeVon Carlo, Fortune Forever Studios, Fortune Forever University, Fortune Forever University Studios here. I say you can find his contact here at fortuneforever.org. I say we're talking to a powerful brother here, DeVon Carlo, and we're talking about things to help you become an entrepreneur. What is it that his experiences in becoming an entrepreneur here, as well as not just his experiences becoming an entrepreneur, but also looking at some of the things or some of the obstacles in becoming an entrepreneur for the upcoming generations and how we can overcome them. It's not just enough to, at least from my perspective, it's not just enough. I don't like talking about just problems and not talking about solutions. And that's what we're discussing now as well, is some of those solutions, some of those things that we can do in order to overcome. And again, it is fortuneforever.org. Here's the homepage here where we're looking at fortuneforever.org. By DeVon Carlo, and I apologize for interrupting you there. But one of the things in talking through these issues. I do have a
question after you, though.
You go ahead. I apologize. Go ahead. As I did not intend to hog the questioning. But go ahead.
Yes. Two things. You said that men need to man up. No, just a question. Just a comment or reflection. I think from all the damage that's been happening from the 70s all the way to now, I think black men and black women, we need to come sit at a table and apologize to each other. And instead of always pointing out each other's flaws and stuff like that, we need to start pointing out what we love about each other. That's right. Because I think we're just too negative. Like to me, it's sad. I'm sorry, I'm gonna go a little soapboxy over here, but
no, go ahead. No, get into it.
Yeah, it's sad when you see there's men out here who eat their whole YouTube channel just reporting on black women doing horrible things, or Nightmare on Divester Street or whatever. Just whatever the black woman does wrong, they want to pick up on it and report on it. I think that's just so disgusting, and think people like that we need to kick out of the community, because of if you're not helping building, you either build or destroy, and if you're not building, you're destroying. So we just need to let that go. But back onto my question. I'm sorry, that just hit my heart.
Oh no, I definitely agree with you on that, because it's like as you're going, I should do this as you're talking about it, because one of the things that I find interesting that kind of goes along with your point is that how do we get to that point where we can talk to one another? Because we're looking at, as I'm looking at the stats and the data on it, the black family, you're seeing here on screen, you have black men were more likely to be married than white men until 1960, and then you watch the never marry, that trajectory that we've gone on. Then you look at with black women, it's very similar until 1970 for black women, and at some point there's been a divergence where all of a sudden we're not dealing with one another anymore, right? You can look at it from statistically and this is all Census Bureau information. How do we get to that point where we can sit down, apologize, take ownership for what it is, how our families are being destroyed, and how do we move forward with it? I don't know that answer, and I guess that's why I'm interested in how do we get there, because that, like I said, that's the core. Say again. I'm sorry.
My fault. We need a reset. But remember, he said like he just got through what's his name?
Westradamus.
Nomis, right. So he just mentioned someone needs to be out of the community, right? So, oh, wow. Okay. I hate to say this word because this gets people, certain people scared, but, we need to be concerned more with the L word. And that's land.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's
land
something that Elijah Muhammad been talking about for a long time ago. But go ahead. He talked about it. Marcus Garvey talked about it. But I'll let you continue on with that thought process.
See, our communities have been infiltrated and corrupted. All right. We know this. I mean, integration, 1970, we lost 20-something million acres of land. And one, you know what I'm saying? Like, see, people don't even question that. And the true name of that bill is called the Indian Civil Rights Act, just about fact. But oh man, I done lost my thought going on my own tangent. Hold on.
I said, why you thinking about that?
Land. Okay, land. So how can you build it? We already been infiltrated. So there needs to be land. We need to develop our own land and do it smarter and learning. And one of the first things, well, I don't want to go off that tangent, but we need land and to start building on that. And we build it, we build it there. We don't have to let people in our communities. You don't have to do that, and you have to have force. Like let's call them peace officers. You still have to have your own, anything you have, man. The goal is to be self-autonomous. So we need our own people protecting our own people. We need our own, we need our own people protecting our own property. You see what I'm saying? So if we start, it's not an overnight process, but a good sizable plot of land and I'll say private land, private law, whatever you want to get. But it's going to be hard to do it in this society already. It's like programmed. It's already infiltrated. We got to make
I agree.
You got to build something. If it's really going to be for us, it has to be built for us from the foundation.
Well, and that's I say there let me read this comment before I get onto that tangent here. It says, y'all on the right track. Some evil minds control media. I agree with that, Mr. Shabazz. The whole thing that I always think about, like you think about Black Wall Street back in Tulsa. You think about the Black Panther Party and them patrolling behind the police in order to protect Black people back in the day. That those were things, I say that level of force that's necessary, and then the land that's necessary. But I also think about the line from he was Mos Def at the time, where he says, they say they want you successful, but then they make it stressful. You start keeping up the pace. They start changing up the tempo. Is at the moment Black Wall Street got to a certain level, they came in and they took the land.
Bombed it.
They bombed us out of it. And it's one of those things and you have the Black Panther Party who would never, when you go back and you look at it from historical records, when you look at the primary sources, they weren't aggressors towards police or had ever had a police shooting until police came and shot them out. And the only thing they were doing was monitoring and watching how police were policing within the community. And so I look at that, I'm like, okay, so from a historical perspective on looking at that paradigm, I agree with you. It's necessary. It's how do we get it done? And I'm always walking into the how do we get there, because I
You
agree
brought
with
up
you on everything that you've been talking about.
you brought up Tulsa, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't there, so I can't really point out all the strengths and weaknesses. But what did we do about it?
We ran.
Now, see,
we didn't rebuild. And my question.
It's a lot of things and a lot of people in our ear that's are not in our interest that look like us, and eye for an eye is to me beautiful. Balance is beautiful to me. That's an act of war anyway. It's just we didn't do nothing, and so if you get beat up and you don't do nothing about it, they're gonna keep coming to beat you up. We just know this from the hood. You know what I'm saying? And nobody's willing to die. I'm sorry. Like, how many freedom costs blood sometimes? It's just part of life.
Freedom has always cost blood. You look at the history of this country, you look at the history of any country, you look at they came in here, there were already indigenous people who were here and they took it from them, right? So it always costs blood. It's always there. That's it. I say, do we train for that, or do we just talk? Let me not sit there and give myself deplatformed, but but because you don't go to the military and they just sit there, they send those boys out to go die. They train them first on this is how you go in there. As a yes, there's a possibility you're gonna die, but we're gonna train you on how to do it. A lot of times we talk about it and we get weapons or we get guns, but we don't ever do any kind of training. We don't know how to work with what it is that we do have. We don't know how to do any of those type of things, and I keep saying we don't, and I don't know how do we, because they keep on going lower, younger and younger, and attacking our community because they know that the ones coming up, if they get them early, they hook them early, then we don't have any. That's the next generation that's coming up, and I'm wondering how do we? I'm steadily and that's one of the reasons why I want to bring people like you on. You're an entrepreneur. You're an example that I want to hold out. I don't want to have this is the only thing that we have here is pimps, hoes, the only entertainer, blah, 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 blah. But I want to have positive entrepreneurial examples, positive Black role models that we can sit there, we can trot out. And that's one of the things I really want to get out here. And again, we're talking with DeVon Carlo.
I have two questions for him.
Go ahead. I apologize. Let me not hog it all up. Go ahead, Wastradamus.
All right. Two questions. All right. The first question, I want to go back here. I'll ask this one. Okay. Do you think you're in Chicago, Nisha Islam is there. All right. Do you think Farrakhan and the Nisha Islam's model might be a model for us to start with or follow to get us back to our greatness? And the second question is going back to the entrepreneurship is what is your line of succession to pass on your business or your entrepreneurship to your kids?
Okay. Well, I'm not for sure if Farrakhan's model is the answer. I've heard, I've heard him speak many times, not in person, but I think he makes some valid points. I don't know. I'm inclined to believe, that he's kind of like controlled opposition and has been kind of complicit in some things, and I don't know how far. So I just really never, nationalism is key, I believe, for anyone, because that's where culture starts, is where nations start. So, I don't think this Blackness has anything to do with nationalism. I think it's all corporatism on so many levels, even to BLM and things like that. But real nationalism, I don't think that's what the Black thought is about. The simulated collective.
Real quick, another question real quick before the kids pass on to entrepreneurship. So what do you think about the Ukraine, when they're kicking the Africans off the train and buses to get them out the country, get the Ukrainians out the country instead of the Africans, and keep the Africans in the country. Talking about black nationalism and things like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I used to work for the news, and I don't trust the news, so I won't speak on the news. But as far as passing down wealth, I think it's wise to live in trust. Trust, form trust. It's not legal advice or anything like that. Educational purposes. There are different types of trust and things like that, but you want some type of a trust that's going to not allow your assets to go through probate, and are privately managed by the laws of the trust. So it's a powerful thing to take something and put it in a trust, even if it's your life, because then it's governed by the trust. So trust is the main way where I'm passing things on. Of course, I mean, that's just as far as a legal perspective, but in life, the equity that I teach them, the values, and the things that I make sure that they pass on to their children, that wealthy mindset, that's very, very important, that you explain to them that that's their duty, to pass on to their children, and why you do things. I want to say one more thing. It's not really about money. Money is my thing is about purpose. And my purpose, I have different duties to perform. And in a capitalistic society, money is just a result of me performing duties for the purpose. It's really not the wealth.
It's just it just determines your level of access to resources. That's all that is. It's a scorekeeper for how I say, based off of what the predominant society values, and you get to see their value system on what it by what it is they provide access to resources when you do it. And it's
what's funny?
Underpinning. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. What's ironic is money, gold, like they can't turn a bolt. Like, you can make a gold wrench, but it ain't gonna turn itself. And you're not gonna eat gold, or you're not gonna eat money. So it's really not money that does anything whatsoever, but just it's the exchange of energy, and it starts at the thought and your commitment to your duties of what you're going to perform in a contract or whatever. So the money is just a medium of exchange in this system,
Facts.
It's crazy.
Yeah, because it doesn't. It's a piece of paper that's made out of a special type of fabric, paper, whatever, right? In this society, right? Whatever and they're all the same dimensions. They all have the same type of ink. It's just the pattern of the ink they put on it determines the amount of access to resources. So if it has a 20, they give you whatever that 20 access, and if it has 100 on it, they give you that 100 access. And now that we're going to digital in a lot of ways, it's just numbers on a ledger that says this is what you are allowed access to. This is the percentage or the amount of access that you are allowed to have based off of you doing what we feel is valuable. And it's not that what you're doing has value or it doesn't have value. I feel it all has value, but this is the amount of value that we as a society, and I'm not saying, and when I say we, I mean big business and government specifically, what they value, because that's what you're trying to get to. Most people, and it's another thing that I wanted to talk about, and I guess I kind of fell off on not being able to get to that point with you, but you've gone away or took a path that is not the normal path as far as being an entrepreneur, because most people, the goal is to get big enough to get bought out by a bigger company, and to have that company in turn as they pay you or give you more access to resources, right? And you went as a being independent, you went the path that says, no, I know what my value. That's not how I'm going to determine that value. And
I turned down a $12 million check because someone tried to buy me for my whole life, like literally. You know, I don't even, man. You know, the value of learning how to build a company that a big company rather than someone else doing it for you. You know, it's, you know, I have, like I said, I got long vision. I got things I don't want to talk about now,
I got you.
but you know, it's, man, to put the work in, the payoff is knowledge, experience, know-how. Like you can be more successful. You can work with people better because you understand, you understand everything so intrinsically because you put the work in. You ain't lazy. You know, swept the floors and did everything, you know. And
But
you
that's
know,
what yeah, because they teach you not to want to sweep the floor. They teach you that's beneath you. That as a not wanting to learn. Oh, I don't know that. I don't need to know about that. I get somebody else to do that. And instead of you even if you're going to get somebody else to do it, understanding that process and how it works is something that our value system in our society right now teaches you. Don't even worry about that type of stuff.
that's because they want you compartmentalized. They don't. The left arm doesn't know what the right arm is doing, and that's what jobs are. So that you don't see the big goal. Nobody sees what's going on. They're just, you know, no. I want to understand what's going on. You know, yeah.
Well, let me do this. I said I was going to do this earlier, and I don't want to keep you all night long as well. So I'm going to drop a link that if anybody else besides Westradamus wants to hop on in here, and I see he dropped off on us as well. But if anybody else wants to hop on in here and ask DeVon Carlo any kind of questions before we cut off the air, because I don't want to keep him up all night. But I appreciate you taking this time out for us, man. And I want to anytime you want to come back on, you let me know. Hopefully as our numbers continue to grow and we get bigger and you want to reach a bigger audience, let me know. I'm happy to always have you on. Again, the positivity within the community, how to be empowering towards Black men, how to take that accountability that you're talking about. How do we go about making sure that our families are strong, and how do we reunite that community? I love talking to brothers like you who have that mindset, homeschooling his own kids, single father. Entrepreneur, powerful brother here. And I want to thank you. And I don't see anybody else hopping on with us. So I'm gonna, unless you have anything that you want to toss in there towards the end here.
Thank you for having me on. Shout out to Brian. And I'm in a relationship now, so I plan on not being, you know, single and family things, which is a great, beautiful thing.
It is.
But thank you for taking the time to recognize my efforts with the life I've lived so far, you know. But I'll be glad to come on another time, anytime.
All right. Well, and with that being said, then I'm going to cut us all out. I always like to cut it out this way. I know I didn't tell you guys before when we started, but I love you. I hope that your day is a great day, and may you always, always, always be blessed with peace in your life. And with that, we are out. You have a good one, Mr. Carlo. Mr. Carlo. I almost said DeCarlo. I don't added both names. You guys have a very good evening.
All right.
Good night.